All right, hello everyone. This is the October frequency forecast for the month of October. And I just want to start off by saying that this particular frequency that's coming through is going to take us really deep and really wide when it comes to being much more grounded. And I can't be more thrilled than that because, wow, do we really need it? Hi, my name is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind. And I am a registered nurse, but I have been working as a psychic clairvoyant medium for 30 years. And so you can find more about me on my website. However, I normally pre-record these particular frequency events, but you will find me as you are listening to this. I will be in the country of Ireland doing many mystical, magical things as I lead a group there through the high frequency of that sacred places and stone circles. So in this frequency forecast, it says grounding is everything when it comes to being a good human. This is exactly how Spirit said it. Grounding is everything when it comes to showing up in life as a good human. I have a lot of notes here, so you're going to see me looking down. So what does it mean to be a good human? Well, this is what we're going to be exploring through this entire month of October. If you cannot feel your own humanity, it is easy to forget that you're even human, as well as forget the suffering or joys of humanity, because it's just a lot. We have a lot going on, and sometimes it feels like it's much easier to disassociate and just kind of check out than it does to really stay focused on the prize of humanity and the expansion and evolutionary process that we're going through. So, what are some of the ways? I'm just going to head into some of the ways that this October frequency forecast is going to be illuminating a light for us. We do have two huge eclipses that are going to be happening. First is going to be a solar eclipse that's going to be happening about mid-October, and then towards the end of October, we'll have a partial lunar eclipse. I am not an astrologer, but what I know from listening to a lot of astrology is that when an eclipse happens, that's like the exclamation point at the end of whatever creative spirit that you have going on. It's going to amplify and enhance all energies. And in some ways, it can really catapult us forward. So if you want to know much more about the eclipses and how the astrology and how your own personal astrology is affected by that, there is thousands and thousands of YouTube videos that you can take a look at. So over the last 20 years, we've been living in a state of darkness where we have worked hard to climb over those boulders of struggle and suffering to see if we can even find 1 nanosecond of enjoyment of life. Doesn't it really feel that way? You know, and looking back, it's like, whoa, those points of struggle seem to be highlighted, and that we can sometimes that kind of overshadows everything else. But what Spirit is saying, because of these struggles, many have found ways of using drugs, alcohol, gambling, gaming, and sexual addiction as a form of escapism. We have done a deep dive in healing not only our own humanity, but the humanity of the world. We've been healing our ancestral pain, generational trauma, and our out of balance, crazy family dynamics. Many of us have pulled away from our core relationships in an isolated way to help us to understand ourselves better. So, what Spirit is saying is that we may have noticed over the last 20 years, we most certainly know that the addiction crisis, drug addiction crisis, is at an all-time high. We also know that that it's been really a struggle. There's been a lot of people who are choosing not to be in relationships, or they're separating from their families and choosing to build their own relationships completely separate from their family of origin. We've been noticing a lot of separation from children separating from their parents as they go into adulthood, and just not wanting to have anything to do with all of this imbalance. So all of this is really in our face right now. We are and always have been stronger together than we ever have been apart. But there has been this evolutionary part of our society which has caused that kind of separation gap. But this great divide has appeared essential for our mental health. So we all know those times when we've separated, just to maintain our own mental health. Now, in this October frequency forecast, what Spirit is saying, this is no longer true. We are now starting to circle back towards re-engaging in those relationships that we felt had caused us so much pain in the past. Now, September in that frequency forecast, it was all about relationships, relationship to the self, relationship to others, relationship to work, relationship to the earth, to the cosmos. Our entire fall equinox was all about relationships. And guess what? None of that's changed. None of it's changed. This whole October, I just kept hearing more and more and more that we are shifting the relationship cycles. But it's just a little bit different in October. So back to that good human. Now, rather than sitting in a fetal position contemplating our own navel, what we want to make us happy as we address those feelings, it's much easier to be alone than to deal with somebody else's stuff. So that's really where we have been. But suddenly realizing in those higher states of consciousness, we start to realize, and that will be illuminated, that someone else's stuff is our stuff too. This is October. This is that kind of loud bullhorn that suddenly many of us are waking up to the truth of that. We can feel that in our bones, that it's like, wow, I was holding this person at a distance. I just thought that I was never going to talk to this person again. And suddenly it's like, wow, you can feel their internal suffering, and it feels similar to your struggles and challenges. And suddenly you can see them in a different light. Is that going to happen overnight? That's the question I always ask Spirit. Am I going to wake up tomorrow and be different? And it's like, no, but what's going to happen is that suddenly things begin to shift. And then you wonder how you got there. It feels like such a natural progression. But I need to keep going because there's a lot to share about October. So good human is now taking time to help someone with their stuff so that that other person can move forward, knowing that ultimately if they're moving forward, you too can move forward in a smoother, easier way. For those of you, this is what Spirit said, for those of you who have been in pure service this entire time, you're going to find yourself taking a little bit of a rest as the Calvary has arrived, meaning more people are turning towards being more service oriented. So you can sit back and say, I get to take a break right now. We are also heading into the month of November, which I consider the biggest, most significant evolutionary awakening event in hundreds of thousands of years. So there's a whole story I have about this around the star beings coming to visit me in 2017 and said, you must go to China to realize the prophecy of the events of the star beings, this galactic blue celestial light surges coming to the earth. I've written a lot about that, but you can read in my blog post on my website, intuitivemind.org. So, but getting back to fast forward now, this October frequency forecast is energetically preparing you to go deep and go wide in your frequency to go beyond the limitations of your human mind. Again, November is the largest, in my opinion, galactic event that humanity has ever experienced. An activation of ancient historical sacred sites are happening all over the world. And they have been happening over the past several years and will begin and will continue to happen for many years to come. These sacred site pyramidal structures are in a state of revealing themselves and opening us to their ancient secrets and their ancient messages. So when I talk about October is this kind of opening, awakening, embodying the goodness of being a human being, our own goodness, that's really preparing us for this November. The blue star beings of celestial light have been visiting the earth since the beginning of time. But more, as they said, in our modern humanity began coming through to some people back in the 1920s with those who had the eyes to see and the ears to hear. As I just mentioned, in 2017, there was a strong surge of light that began to activate all of us, all of humanity. So if you just kind of look back over since 2017, we definitely know that we had this global pandemic which changed all of us, and we still, I was going to say, we still haven't recovered from that. We still are kind of left asking ourselves what happened. And so all of that is still going on. And some humans, as I talked about in August and September, are also opening to their prophetic gifts and abilities, which I have recorded a video on that as well. This coming surge in November of 2023 will create, according to the star beings, these blue celestial lights from Syria, from the planet Sirius in Orion's constellation, will create the largest leap of consciousness, almost as if you were for a moment that you'll go to sleep. They've described it as almost like an anesthesia. If you've ever had surgery and you're being put to sleep, and then when you wake up, you say, well, when is the surgery going to start? And they tell you it's all over already. They said it's kind of like we're going to be that way. It's like we're not going to miss any time. There's going to be like this stopping of time and space. So this deep and wide frequency of grounding in this month of October is really needed to help prepare us for the big event that will be happening in November. So again, you will awaken as if you were never asleep in the first place. Okay, so these are what the blue beings of light are sharing with me. And I have to tell you, there's been so many synchronistic events. I've talked to so many people who are also getting the same information that, to me, I deeply believe this to be true. And I'm so excited about November. So what they said was going to be, we are being prepared for in October, is your inner genius and your inner brilliance is just about to burst open. And that's definitely something to be excited about. Genius and brilliance, they said, has nothing to do with academics. This truth just might shake up the world a bit because in the past we only have validated those who have initials behind their name, like Nancy Rebecca, registered nurse. And what they are saying now is that inner genius and that inner brilliance is not connected to what you have learned in academics, what you've learned from professors, what you've learned from books. It's going to be this inner brilliance, this inner genius, as more capacity, I guess, of our mind will be activated. So this inner brilliance and genius is already beginning to be activated. How many of you have that sense of having an expanded view of understanding than you did before? Like when I think about when I started teaching intuitive psychic development back in the 90s, I remember teaching a class around 1998. And I remember there was about 20 people in the class, and I asked them, who in here believes in past lives? And it was kind of like, a little half hand, or no hand at all. There was only one person in that class of 20 that raised their hand with a boldness and a confidence and assuredness that heck yeah, we have past lives, with unwavering truth in that knowing. And now, if I were to teach a class of 100 people and I said, how many in here believe in past lives? Every single person would raise their hand. So that just tells you that in that 20-year period of time, we've already awakened to those truths that we were denied before. We were not allowed to believe in those things, or we would be kind of ostracized from our community. So, the inner brilliance and genius being activated now will burst open in November. With the enhancement of the blue light, Orion's belt of the galaxy of the Orion constellation and its galaxy of stars. And according to the ancient ones who describe this Orion constellation as life's creation was born from. I know a lot of ancient civilizations believe that their ancestors came from the Orion constellation. So imagine you going to sleep and awakening with a new capacity and understanding for higher knowledge and higher concepts. So again, kind of like didn't believe in past lives, and now you wake up and you believe in past lives. There's also great potential for healing that may take place. So I'm going to share this little story with you. So in September on Labor Day, I attended what's called Phenomicon. So it's a paranormal conference, but to me, that doesn't really name it. There were some really top ancient historians that know the ancient Egyptian knowledge and hieroglyphics. There were anthropologists that know about the petroglyphs and their potential alignment with the Egyptian hieroglyphs. I mean, it was just high level knowledge of extraterrestrials and the science behind it and what they've been finding. But the reason why Spirit's saying that your body it's becoming a light body here in October, there's these other grounded surges awakening your capacity to become more of a light body, that you may have this potential to remain healthier. So there was this man who gave a talk. His name is Travis Walton, and they had featured him in the movie Fire in the Sky that came out in 1994. And it's about his life. There were 7 of them that worked in clearing forest and clearing brush because of fire hazards. So they were hired in Arizona to clear this brush from the mountains. There was a UFO that appeared, and Travis Walton ran straight for the UFO, where the other 6 friends were too frightened to get out of the truck. And then they left and they came back to try to find him, and he was missing. So he was missing for 5 days. Now you can read his book and you can watch the movie, but this is what really stood out for me, was that his other 6 friends have had since 75 or 74, have had a variety of illnesses. 2 or 3 of them have already died. They got radiation exposure, they had cancer, they've had a lot of struggles, mental health struggles. And he is saying that in those 5 days when he was in that ship, they really worked on him to help return him because he felt like he had been electrocuted by radiation. So they brought him on the ship to help save his life, as he says now. But he said since then, he's been perfectly healthy. He's never gotten sick. So what that kind of shares with me is as the frequencies are going up, I don't know, it might sound pretty out there, but hey, I would kind of love that, to have a more stability, have our physical body have more stability and health. So these are all the things that we're preparing for in this October frequency forecast. Wisdom is another frequency. We've been talking about the frequency of wisdom for the last year. Wisdom is also a frequency of light that will permeate many of you as your spirit inspires you to share your divine heart and your divine wisdom with other people. I've already talked about the different types of prophetic abilities that are awakening humanity, and wisdom is a part of that. Spirit came through to say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So they're saying that the serenity prayer that's known off more in AA, these are the things, just saying that prayer, it has a very high frequency going in from October, November, December, the first few months of January. It's almost like this blend of everything. Frequencies are coming through, and great changes have the potential to happen. The star being wisdom, the blue celestial beings from the Orion constellation, has been stepping onto the galactic world stage for several years now. And that stage is just about ready to get much larger. But just like any play that's going to be open to the public, there's a lot of the behind the scenes things that need to happen. And that's what's really happening here in our October frequency forecast. So join me as we all come together again to open to the wonders of change. Begin to meditate on your own inner brilliance and your own inner wisdom. Go ahead and click on the link below. I have 11 different events that we're going to do to celebrate this surge of celestial blue light that's going to be coming through the three mesas in Hopi Land in Arizona. So go ahead, and if you're not on my mailing list, get on my mailing list. You can read more following the blue light link that will tell you a little bit more about November's events. But this is an exciting time in October in this frequency forecast. And I will leave with saying again, we have always been much stronger together than we ever have been apart. So take that time. I encourage you to reach out to others, to embrace others, to start assisting others in doing little things like moving their garbage can out to the road, or maybe taking some soup to an elderly neighbor, or maybe making a run to the grocery store. But these are great times that we're moving through, exciting, exciting times. And I am more than thrilled to look up in the river of life and see you all there with me. All right, take care, everyone. And I will see you on our next call next week. Bye-bye.